Eric. Mommy, you're back. Yay! Where's Daddy? Eric got uncomfortable with this question. He looked down and said, I don't know. What's going on, love? You're keeping secrets with Mommy? Eric did not say anything, but he kept looking down at the floor anxiously. I sensed that something was wrong. I called up my husband. David, where are you? I came for a vacation with our son. I hung up the call. We immediately packed the bags and left the house. Hello, my name is Caroline and I'm 40 years old. I'm married to David, who's 42 years old. We've been married for the last 10 years. I and David used to work at the same office. That's how we know each other. We fell in love with each other and got married. We were a happy couple. After 2 years of our marriage, our son Eric was born and our family seemed complete. Eric is now 8 years old. Soon after our marriage, David got a better opportunity from a different company and he switched to a different company. I continued to work in the same company and now I'm in a senior position and I have to travel for a few days a month for business trips. When my son Eric was 3 years old, I was offered a promotion at work with the clause that I would have to travel for business purposes for a few days a month. I was reluctant to accept as Eric was too small to be left alone, but David supported me. Don't worry, honey. I'll take care of Eric. Are you sure? Eric is too small. Absolutely. He's my son, too. Besides, it's just a matter of a few days. Okay, then, I'll accept the promotion. David was always supportive of my work. He used to take care of Eric when I went on these trips. I was so grateful to David for being so caring and supportive. Our life was pretty smooth until one day, my father-in-law called. Hey, David, I was thinking of stepping down from the business. I could no longer take on the stress of business. All okay, Dad? Yeah, everything's fine, just that I'm getting older, you know. It's time for you to take over the business. David replied politely. Dad, you know I have worked hard to make my identity. Now, you just want me to leave everything and join your business? David, you knew this was coming. I've let you do everything you wanted until now, but this is one thing which you should do for the family. Dad, you can't force me. I'm not forcing you. Think about it. How long would you work at the job? The business will give you the flexibility to enjoy the later part of your life. But Dad, you are my only heir. If you refuse to run the company, then I'll have to sell it off as I can't manage it anymore. I didn't mean that. Okay, then wind up your work in a month and join the business. But Dad, you've run the business so efficiently for so many years. I'm afraid I'll not be able to manage so well. You would learn as you run it. I too didn't know anything about business until I started doing it on my own. Okay, Dad, I'll give the notice to my company and wrap up my work there. Although David was happy at his job, he knew that he would have to take over the family business at some point. So he was prepared for this, just that he did not realize that this would happen so soon. Soon after David joined his family business, I noticed a gradual change in his attitude. He would come home late, spend the evenings all by himself on his phone, and was mostly away on the weekends. This continued for a few months. After a while, I could not take it any longer and decided to confront him. David, is everything fine with you? Yes. What happened? I've been noticing a change in your attitude for the last few months. Change? What are you even talking about? I wanted to have this conversation with him so that we could fix it, but he simply ignored that anything was wrong. I got furious at his ignorance. Don't act as if you don't know what I'm talking about. You come home late almost every day. Some days when you're early, instead of spending time with me or Eric, you are busy on your phone. David replied in a stern voice. This is happening because I'm busy. I no longer work for a company where I can wrap up my work at 7 p.m. It is my business now. I have to give time to it. Even after coming home, I have to coordinate with other departments over the phone. What about the weekends? Yes, sometimes we have work on weekends too. I didn't know what to say, hence I went out of the room to calm down. Although David's reasons were legitimate, I still wasn't convinced. I could feel the coldness growing between us, which I just could not explain to David. I decided to give him the benefit of doubt and give him some time to settle into the business. Besides, David was a caring father to Eric and would take care of him while I was away. He used to take his time off and take Eric for small vacations when I was on business trips. 2 years passed. David got busier with his business, and now he sometimes does not come home at all. Although we lived under the same roof, we barely spoke to each other. I kept wondering to myself if my work was the reason behind our growing distance. Sometimes I felt too lonely. I had no one to discuss my problems with. My parents were in their late 70s, so I didn't want to stress them out with my problems. I lost touch with most of my friends as I got busy with my family and work. David's presence in my life was almost negligible. My only hope was my son, Eric. Although he was too young to understand my problem, yet spending time with him makes me happy and relieved. It kept me going. But recently, I observed that Eric was distracted. His grades were falling in the monthly tests, and he was spending way too much time on video games. David has been pampering Eric a lot with all kinds of video games, automatic car toys and whatnot. The next time when David brought expensive video games for him, I resisted. David, Eric already has a lot of video games and toys. This new one is unnecessary. What do you mean? Now I can't give gifts for my son? What do you want? Eric's grades have been falling and he is too distracted these days. He is always on video games, which is not good for his mental growth. He is my son. He would find a way for himself. You don't need to worry about him. Well, he is my son too. I need to ensure that he's raised to be an educated and responsible person. Are you trying to taunt me that I'm an irresponsible person? I have been taking care of Eric since he was 3 years old, when you left him at home for your business trips. I was shocked at his words. It was he who volunteered to take care of Eric. Besides, he is the father of Eric, so he has the responsibility too. Wasn't it you who asked me to take the promotion and you volunteered to take care of Eric? Yes, it was me. You should be grateful to me for supporting you, but all you do is just complain. I have always been grateful to you for supporting me. That's the reason I'm still with you in this house, despite your cold behavior towards me. Saying this, I broke down. Oh, please, don't try to play the victim in front of me. I lost my patience and shouted at him. You know what? I'm done with you. I no longer have any affection or gratitude for you. Whatever you have done for taking care of Eric, it was your duty as a parent. I don't owe you anything for this. David, too, yelled back at me. You're such an ungrateful woman. Women like you can never be happy, and neither keep their husbands happy. David had never raised his voice at me like this. Even if we were not talking properly, he was never mean to me. He was a changed man now. These words pierced my heart like a knife, and I was howling in pain. I locked myself up in the bathroom and cried my heart out. Eric overheard the fight between David and me. He saw me locking myself in the bathroom, and when I didn't come out after a long time, he started knocking on the door. Mommy, come out! I heard him crying outside the bathroom. I washed my face, came out, and hugged him. Mommy, I was afraid when you locked yourself for so long. My bad, honey. I was taking a bath. But your hair is still dry. I cracked up and pulled his cheeks. Aren't you too smart for your age? Do you want to have some spaghetti for dinner? Eric got excited on hearing this. Yeah, spaghetti. Seeing his smile, I forgot all my pain. All this while, David was lying down on the couch, busy on his phone. I made dinner, fed Eric, and put him to sleep. I had a flight for my business trip the next morning, so I packed my bags and slipped a note of my travel details to David on his study table. Ever since our relationship got cold, I slip a note of my travel details on David's study table so that he makes himself available for Eric or drops him at my in-laws' house. The next morning, I went for my scheduled trip. However, the recent confrontations with David just kept me haunted. I was not able to concentrate on the work. It was a 3-day trip, but on the second day I started feeling feverish and weak. So I decided to shorten the trip. I called up my manager and told him that I felt sick. He coordinated with the travel department and scheduled my return flight immediately on the same day. I returned home thinking of having a good time with my son. I saw that the main door of the house was locked and the lights were also off. I unlocked the door with the duplicate key and went inside. The living room was dark. I switched on the lights and went upstairs to Eric's room. I saw Eric playing with his video games, lying on his bed. "Hey, Eric, my love, what are you doing here? And why all the lights in the house are switched off?" Seeing me, he got excited and ran toward me. "Mommy, you're back! Yay! Where's Daddy?" Eric got uncomfortable with this question. He looked down and said, I don't know." "When did he leave the house?" "I don't know, Mommy. Dad asked me not to tell you anything." "What do you mean, honey?" "What's going on, Eric? You're hiding secrets from Mommy." Eric did not say anything, but he kept looking down at the floor anxiously. I sensed that something was wrong. I called up my husband. "David, where are you?" "I came for a vacation with our son." I was shocked. David was lying. That was the last nail in the coffin. The phone was on speaker. Eric, too, heard everything. I hung up the call. I stared at him and he started sobbing. After this, Eric told me everything. It was so horrible to hear. "Mommy, whenever you used to go for a trip, Daddy left me alone in the house." "What?" He was still sobbing. I sat him down on my lap and hugged him. "Sweetheart, since when Daddy's leaving you alone?" "When I was small, Daddy took care of me, never left me alone. But now he locks me inside the house. He keeps the food in the fridge for me to eat and gave me video games to play." "When does your father come?" "Daddy comes late in the night and again goes out in the morning." I could not believe what my little son was going through while I was away. I blame myself, too, for leaving him at David's disposal. "Honey, why didn't you tell me?" "First, Dad used to leave me for a few hours, but he brought a lot of chocolates and toys for me. But now he is away for the whole day. Dad asked me to promise that I won't tell you anything." I could not see him crying like this. "Okay, calm down now. Mommy's here." "I'm sorry, Mommy. Dad got me the latest video games. I kept my promise and didn't tell you anything." "I'm sorry, baby, that you had to go through so much." I could not believe my ears. What kind of father would do that? David was rewarding Eric for hiding this secret. I felt disgusted. I could no longer stay in that house or let my child see that horrible man. We immediately packed the bags and left the house. I hired an investigating agency to investigate David. After dropping Eric to my aunt's place, I went to David's parents and narrated the entire incident. My mother-in-law could not believe that David could do such things. "Caroline, don't get me wrong. Perhaps there can be some misunderstanding. It is not wise to take such a big decision on Eric's words. He's a small kid." "What do you mean?" "I understand what you're going through, but you can once talk to David if there's another part of the story." Although her intention was not bad, she was just advising me to have a confrontation with David before taking any decision. But at that moment, I was too furious to understand her intention. "Do you think that Eric is making up all these things? If David was not wrong, why did he lie to me that he was on a vacation with Eric?" "Well, he might have been busy with work." I lost my patience and told them everything. "This is not the only incident. Your son has been giving me the cold shoulder since he joined the business. He comes late at home, barely spends time with Eric, and spends his weekends away from home." "Are you trying to say that all these are happening because David joined his family's business?" My father-in-law interrupted. "Brianna, stop. Caroline is right. I never thought David would turn out to be like this. After he joined the business, a few of my senior employees gave me a hint of David's growing closeness with his assistant." "What? Why didn't you tell me about this?" "I brushed it away as gossip. People tend to enjoy these types of gossip at work. I thought David was too mature to have an affair. He loved you and Eric so much. I should have taken it seriously. I regret it now. Please forgive me, Caroline." I sat there numb. I didn't say anything. Brianna was shocked, too. They both were devastated. David had a reputation as an ideal son, ideal husband, and ideal father. He has disappointed everyone. I was not angry with my father-in-law because I too never doubted David of having an affair, despite things getting colder between us. I thought that we have fallen out of love because of our working schedules. I was so naive to think that when Eric grows up, me and David would be relieved from our parental duties and work commitments. Then we'll spend our retirement days again happily together. After I left my in-laws' house, I started getting calls from David. Probably my in-laws called and confronted him. I ignored his calls and blocked him. I moved in with my aunt for a few days and started looking for a house. After a few days, the investigating agency sent the reports, and it was true. David was having an affair with his assistant, Lily. He used to skip his office and spend all day at her place when I was away for a trip. I hired a lawyer and sent the divorce papers along with the copy of photo evidence I got from the agency. Lily was a single mother of a 5-year-old girl. She was divorced by her ex-husband on the charges of an extramarital affair when she was pregnant. While applying for the job, Lily played a victim card and told that she divorced her husband because he was cheating on her while she was pregnant. Seeing her helplessness as a single mother, my father-in-law gave her a job despite her low qualifications. She lied to everyone at the office to get sympathy. Probably she said the same story to David, but her true color was revealed by the investigation agency. The agency fetched the details of her ex-husband too. Lily was divorced by her ex-husband without any alimony or child support because her husband alleged that the baby was not his. The DNA report also proved the same. I sent all these details to David through my lawyer. My lawyer told me that David was devastated to see those details, and he broke up with her. He accused Lily of breaking into our house. David was not ready to divorce me. He loved Eric and couldn't lose him. He told the lawyer that he got influenced by Lily and pleaded for a second chance. He also admitted that it was Lily's idea to lock Eric at home because her daughter stays alone at home when Lily goes to work. I might have given him another chance if it was just me who was hurt, but now it is the question of my child's safety and upbringing. I can't raise Eric with a father who bribes his son for lying. After suffering for so long, I was adamant to get a divorce. It wasn't a matter of a few days or months. David cheated on me for so many years, yet I never doubted his loyalty. I could never forgive him for breaking my trust. I did not agree to any settlement but divorce. My father-in-law apologized for David's mistakes and stood by my side all this while. Everyone at the office knew and gossiped about David's affair and the divorce. My father-in-law could not take this shame and threw out David and Lily from the company. He ran the company again for a few years before selling it off to another businessman for a hefty amount. He has cut off David's name from his will and instead gave his inheritance to Eric. David was disowned by his parents as he had broken their trust too. David shifted to the other side of the city as everyone in the neighborhood looked down upon him for cheating on me with his assistant. Meanwhile, I took a transfer to a different department where I didn't have to travel. Now I can manage my house and work efficiently. I've hired a full-time nanny to take care of Eric. I'm planning to quit my job in a few years as I have saved enough for my retirement. I want to enjoy my life to the fullest with my son. I wish Eric grows up to be an educated and responsible person.